Okay, you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. All right, I will call us to order. It is 5:04 p.m. This is the regular June meeting of the Altoona Library District Board of Trustees. Lovely to see everybody. We will begin, as always, with our roll call. So here we go. Trustee Andrews.
Here.
Trustee Capel.
Here.
Trustee Cervantes.
Here.
And Trustee Wilkerson did let us know that she'll be joining a little bit later by phone, so we'll look forward to welcoming her when she is available. All right, so let's get into the agenda, and I have had a request to move some stuff around. So Terry, I believe you wanted to move a few items around. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you could move my reports, if there's not somebody else that needs to leave sooner than me, up to the beginning of that item number, which I think was 4 or 5, I would appreciate that.
Okay, so let's just make sure I'm doing this correctly. So we need to move your CFD committee report
And the liaison.
and the liaison reports. So what we'll do is we will move those 2 items, which is that 6D2, I suppose. We will move that to the beginning of section 6. So we'll begin with the CFD committee report, and then we'll follow that immediately with item 6F, your government liaison report. And then we'll proceed through the rest of those. So I will remind everybody when we get to that part of the agenda. So we'll do that first before the support group reports and all that jazz. Any other requests to move anything around on the agenda or change anything else? Okay, then I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda with those two changes.
I move that we approve the agenda with those changes.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
And I vote for me. Perfect. All right, guys. Terrific. That's what we'll do. Thank you so much. I am not aware currently of any public comment on non-agenda items. Diego, is there anything that's come in?
At this moment, no. Then that's
Okay.
in our electronic form or via call.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll always, as always, keep an eye out for that. Next, that brings us to our consent calendar. This month, our consent calendar includes the approval of 2 sets of minutes, the minutes from our regular May meeting, as well as the special meeting that we held on June 10th. That was the joint committee meeting between the CFD and Facilities Committee. So I would ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll move.
Okay. Your second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on this or any changes to the minutes or anything anybody wants to bring up on these? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
And I vote for me. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. So now we're moving just bravely forward. We're just plowing through it. And you guys have all seen the agenda for tonight. So we're going to keep clipping along because it's long. So we're now at item 5, departmental updates and special presentations. That begins on page 12 of your package. Let's see here. This month, do we have anything anybody would like to comment on or bring out about our departmental updates? Anything anybody would like to highlight or mention? And as always, a ton of amazing stuff is going on, and we so appreciate the hard work from all the departments for preparing such comprehensive and visually compelling, I have to say, this month reports.
Yeah, it's just great to really see the staff just continuing to really push our newly adopted strategic plan and vision for the libraries, and the ever increasing community engagement is just great to see on all fronts. So yeah, kudos to all the staff.
Absolutely. Sorry, Terry, I thought I saw a hand from you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I just always, I'm always struck by the little stories that come out in this section and all the great things, like Jason said, that are happening. And one, when there was a report about the, from Victor, the crochet craft program, which I thought was like great, made me want to go take up crochet for a day. And also the free little library effort that was made, where there was some assistance given to a free little library that had been vandalized. And having one myself, I know how heartbreaking that can be, although it's never been vandalized. But just the effort to get out and help with that sort of thing was terrific. And then the other one, Bob Lucas, Branch Services, and a report from Diana Wong. People were going door to door in the neighborhood to promote the Inspire Harmony event at Bob Lucas. And I know where you see that other than, Topeka, Kansas or something like that. It's such a terrific neighborhoody thing to have happen. And
Yeah.
I'm just happy to have our library involved with things like that.
Yeah, and I would just add on what Terry and Jason said. It's amazing; these are amazing stories, and I love the impact in the community. It was really interesting, also the fact that with our youth and family services, with the kits that have actually run out. So, question I'm going to have is really, all right, we've run out. We have no more to hand out for the year. As we're looking into the new fiscal year beginning in a few days, if there's a big demand, is there something we can do? Because I'd hate to think that we have unmet needs. If we've got a healthy reserve, and there's certainly coming out of the pandemic, I'd love to make sure that we're hitting all of the needs as possible. Certainly, if there's a demand like that, so something worthy of discussion, I think. But overall, great report as usual.
Katie, do you want me to comment on that?
Yeah, why don't you comment on that, Nikki? That'd be great.
Yeah, so last year, I think we started out with like 200 kits and they went out like the day they started handing them out. So this year we upped it to, I think, closer to 600. And again, they were gone within the first 2 days. Last year, they did put more kits together after the fact, but found that after that initial kickoff, there just wasn't like people coming to get them as much. So the staff has decided that like they'll continue to hand out the things that they have, but what that means is next year we're going to be putting even more together. So there's been discussion around that, definitely. And it's not necessarily a money thing, but more of a people, once it's like happened, it's out of mind, sort of, if that makes sense. But yeah, definitely more next year for sure.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Nikki. I couldn't tell whether that was a monetary decision or, but as you explained it, it makes perfect sense. And obviously whatever the staff's putting together, it's very popular.
And one of the pieces of feedback I got from several of the youth and family services staff is that we're getting a lot of new families. So like it's really fun for them because like so many people continue to move into Altadena and they're seeing so many new faces this year. So again, I think the demand is increasing as more and more families keep moving into.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or observations? Okay, thank you so much. That brings us to item 5B, which is our special presentation tonight. And Nikki, who's gonna kick that off for us?
It's actually a video. Diego, are you
Okay.
Okay.
I'm bringing it up and then I'm going to go ahead and share.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, everyone. Christopher Kellmeyer, IT Manager and Technical Services Manager. We're going to go over the experiences that Technical Services had attending the California Library Association Conference. Overall, very engaging and interesting for the Technical Services staff. to review and participate in these events. The first session we'll talk about is a session that 3 of the technical services staff members attended, and that's the cataloging of 3D objects using RDA and Mark 21. Our COA integrated library system uses Mark 21 structure, so this is super helpful, particularly with our Library of Things initiative, and seeing how the standardization is being done in other libraries to make it more presentable in the catalog, and also what information fields to plug in particular mark fields. So an excellent session to have attended. A couple of our staff members also attended the Digitization and Discovery Fair. This is multifaceted in a sense that it's going over quite a wide range of archiving that happens out there in the world, from public libraries, universities, even museums, and how archiving is done for historical material. Let's go on to the next slide, because I think there's a couple of the platforms that were showcased in the digitization session were CaliSphere and California Revealed, both free access platforms. It should be noted that on staff, our Lori Newfang, library technician, has an historical archive digitization certificate background, and that she has performed most of the archiving for Altadena Library through the Southern California Library Cooperative's Montage project, which got several Southern California libraries a free hardware for digitization, and also the Montage platform to showcase those digitization collections. On this slide, we have 3 different sessions with some staff commentary about their experience. With the redistricting, it's largely census related, so it was nice to have that and be involved in that session, because you get to see how libraries can make a difference on facilitating the census and making things fair and equal representation. Altadena Library participated in the last census, so that was very helpful. And perseverance is a superpower. These kind of sessions are just kind of like professional boosting and stress management type of sessions, also confidence builders, this sort of things. It's like a personal development type of session, which, as you can see from the comments here, that staff really enjoyed and found positive. And how we differentiate our resources to meet community needs. From what I recall in talking with the technical service staff member that attended this, that this was very tactile and was kind of like maker spaces being brought out into the community, or other very home ec and physical constructive type of activities, building things, and in tactile engaging moments for families and children. So although a lot of that was showcased went by the wayside during COVID, as you can see, staff member says that we'll probably see these firing back up, and it does inspire and give ideas on some of the initiatives that we could do ourselves. This next lot of sessions that we have featured in this slide starts off with the feature awards and opening keynote. Kelly McAdoo, Hayward City Manager. So many staff attended this session because we were very excited about watching our very own board member Katie Clark receive the Presidential Award. I also heard that Kelly McAdoo's presentation on empathetic leadership was very inspiring for most of the staff. And improving accessibility from the community input and actionable change, A lot of this had to do with our website or a website ADA access and being ACRA compliant. When we redid our website, we attenuated all of our website to be as ACRA compliant as possible and used tools to do that testing to make sure that was the case. So we're pretty covered there, but it also doesn't hurt to review these sort of things and get the juices flowing in our minds. Adapt programs to meet patrons' needs. A lot of this had to do with serving patrons during COVID, which I'd say we were pretty successful in doing. And there were a lot of programs and especially virtual sessions that could be extended out to be more to be programs that go beyond just COVID conditions or pandemic conditions. In technical services in times of COVID in the Realm Project, a lot of that had to do with the OCLC initiative, reopening libraries, museums in COVID and providing information that was science-based in order to make better decisions. So this was kind of one of those that you attend and you might have some other takeaways that come out of it, like there were some subcategories of survival tools for toxic workplace and Latina librarians and librarianship that were also pieces of that provided some takeaways. And that's the bulk of what technical services experienced at CLA. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our experiences and have a wonderful day.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Hatanaka. I'm the Adult Services Librarian, and I've been a member of the Altadena Library District team since October 2020. One of the programs I was able to attend at this year's CLA virtual conference was the Adult Services Symposium, where 5 libraries from across the state shared their programs and services that they were able to continue during the pandemic. One of the most interesting presentations was made by the Oceanside Public Library's literacy coordinator, where she created an inclusive writing project by using a website, and her literacy tutors and students were able to share their artwork, written stories, poetry, photos about dealing with the pandemic. The California State Library got wind of the project and further developed it into something they called the California COVID Diaries, which continues to exist as a living document for Californians to submit their own feelings through their visual artwork and written stories. And I'm hoping to promote this project with our local patrons and community members and have them contribute to this unique living document. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Helen, and the CLA that I watched was a webinar on Code Adam, which is named for Adam Walsh, who was abducted and killed from a Sears in Florida in 1981. The Mission Viejo Public Library provided us with their training and protocols that they use to implement a Code Adam call throughout the library. So what we would like to do, or what I would like to do as a member of the East team, and also with my love of true crime, I think it's important that we have a Code Adam that Nikki also reminded us we need to have. Mission Viejo put the steps for Code Adam on the back of their badges so that every employee has it with them at all times and ready to go. So that's what I'm going to bring to the East team and talk about it and hopefully implement it as soon as we can. Thanks.
Hello, my name's Yvette. I'm the Youth and Family Services Librarian, and one of the CLA webinars that I watched was put on by the Placentia Public Library in the OC, and they talked about how they adapted their programming in a virtual setting. One of the things they talked about is how they did a family cooking club where it was something similar than you would find like a Blue Apron or like one of those subscription services, but instead the library came up with a family dinner idea, and then they could come by and pick up all the supplies to make it together as a family and on a macro level as a community. I found that to be very interesting and something that I would definitely like to do for our fall programming, especially with all the holidays and the family celebrations that happen during the month of November and December. I think it'd be a great opportunity to make some more family connections here at our Altadena Library.
And that's it. Thank you all for listening to it. As I should have introduced it a little, as you saw, we had our adult services and technical services talk about their experiences, but we just wanted to bring you this presentation so that you all were a bit more aware of our participation in conferences and what we're learning from them and how we're trying to implement those things and ideas here at Altadena Library. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all the staff, and especially Christopher, for all of the sharing out you guys did from what you learned. Certainly, I know that CLA being online this year is a totally different experience to what it normally is. But I'm so delighted to see that it felt like it was a good opportunity to pick up some new ideas, refresh some old ones, and I just really appreciate hearing what the actual work of librarianship is that you guys are undertaking every day. It's part of what makes the staff reports so special and engaging. And so thank you so much for sharing that with us. We really appreciate it. And it was fun to have a video. That was cool. All right. Well, now we come to item 6. And as a reminder, this is where we've reordered things just a little bit. So we are going to take these in a slightly different order. So we'll begin with item 6D2, which is the CDD Committee report. That appears on page 47 of your package. So Terry, I will hand it to you.
Okay, great. And then I wanted to just add to the last presentation, it's nice seeing faces from the library. A lot of them rotating through that presentation. So that was good. A couple of them I don't know if I've actually met yet. So my report on the CFD committee, which is on page 47, is pretty short, and it's also repeated to a certain extent by Nikki a little later when we talk about voting for the contracts for the CFD administrator and also for the bond underwriter. But basically, we met on the 15th of June, and that was just a couple of days after a work group that was comprised of me and Nikki and Nicole and Doug Anderson of Urban Futures had taken a look at the 5 RFPs each that came in for those categories. So we got 5 RFPs for the CFD administrator contract and 5 RFPs for the bond underwriter contract. And they were all capable companies. We put them on a matrix that examined certain items or certain facets of each one. And then we compared notes on meetings that occurred on the 11th of June and the 10th of June to sort of whittle things down. And we came up with our recommendations for the CFD committee meeting, which we had again on the 15th of June, and settled on 2 vendors, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail later on, but they were recommending NBS for the CFD administrator and also Hilltop Securities for the bond underwriter. And we felt that the differences were pretty clear that elevated these 2 to those 2 recommendations. So it was a rigorous process, and I'm glad that we got it on the tight timeline that we did, because we really wanted to get it teed up for approval by the full board, or at least a vote by the full board at this meeting. So we're very happy with the way that those things are progressing. And keeping in mind that we've already got a municipal services administrator or advisor and the bond counsel, these 2 that we're talking about today, we sort of round out the team that we need to fulfill our obligations for the community facilities district. So I'm very excited about this. We're making good progress, and the meeting was a good success. Are there any questions about that particular meeting? And if not, you'll get a big dose of this a little later on as well. I'm going to go ahead and go to the government liaison report, which has some residual items, I guess, from the last one that I did. And that was that when we talked last, the government liaison committee, we were a little bit chagrined, or special districts in general were chagrined by the idea that there was federal money and other money that's pouring into the state coffers, and none of it was being set aside for special districts. And since then, a lot has changed. There were letters that were written by state legislatures. That was one set of letters and signatures, and also by federal legislators that talked about the importance of special districts in California, of which there are about 2,000, and how there really needed to be some carve out for special districts to mitigate some of the bad effects that they had from COVID over the last year or two, a year and a half. And that had an effect because it was $100 million that was baked into the state budget. Now, what's happening with that budget is that there was a May revision by Governor Newsom, and there was sort of a placeholder budget put in place. And they're expecting a vote on that, maybe even today, because it has to be approved by the end of the month because of the fiscal year, the way that the state fiscal year works. So it's probable, although without any details, that there will be $100 million. And I, again, can't give you too much more than that, that will be available to special districts to help mitigate the effects of COVID-19 in their various categories. At first glance, you would think that maybe that doesn't apply to us because we got by pretty well on our property tax allotment and so on. But I would argue that we did take a big hit in our services, our passport services, probably more than $100,000, and that depending upon how people can apply for this, or special districts can apply for this money, if it gets passed, I would think that we might have a chance of getting some money there. So it was really an interesting process for me to understand a little bit more about how these government agencies work, especially the state budget, and also what a great asset the California Special Districts Association is, because they really came to bat for us by organizing the voices that would be approaching their state legislatures and federal legislators to get some help, some relief for COVID. And they did a really good job. If you look at all of the advocacy letters, and I know many of you do, the messages that we get, there's some really interesting and good stuff that's going on there. And that leads me into my second part of actually the third part, but I'm going to skip to that right now, about this liaison report. And that is that the CSDA Southern Network had a slate of board candidates for CSDA. There's several districts that are called networks in California. And in the Southern District, there were 9 trustees and folks that were involved with special districts across our area, all of which they seem to be very well qualified. And I highlighted them there on at the end of the page, on page 50 and 51, to talk a little bit about them. One of the things that was changed in the government liaison position, as you recall, because we voted on it, is that this office or this appointment would have the ability to go ahead and vote on things like that, which I did. And the person that I voted for was Joe McKenzie, who's the incumbent from the Vista Irrigation District. And she's had a lot of experience with special districts, really put a lot of her time and leadership into this. And some of the things that she accomplished in this last session, because she is the incumbent, is she got more programs on CSD that can be viewed for free, if you remember, right? And there are other improvements that she made. And of course, I'm presuming that she had a big leadership stake in the way that government entities were approached by CSDA to press for this extra money for special districts coming up. The third thing on the government liaison report is that green bonds, which we talked about at length in our CFD committee, especially when we were talking about the bond underwriters, are being tracked now. And green bonds are a category of bonds, along with sustainability bonds, that can be carved out by special districts or can be used by special districts in their sales. And it's sort of a marketing thing, but they also demonstrate a commitment to green technology and to sustainability and so on. But they're starting to be tracked now by the California State Treasurer's online portal, which is CDIMA. I always get the issues of the alphabet, they're confused. But they've been around since 2014, and they're just now, because of becoming more popular with bond sales and so on, being tracked by the CDIAC in California. So these are all interesting developments for us. And again, I'm hopeful that I'll have an optimistic liaison report to give next time regarding about how we could possibly make a pitch for funds that we can get from this $100 million that should be set aside. Are there any questions about the report?
I don't have a question. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for such an informative report. I learned about green bonds for the first time in reading your report, and then saw those later on in the staff report for the agenda item. So that's fascinating. I'm really interested to know more about this as we go forward. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Okay, terrific. Well, we now return to our regularly scheduled programming, which takes us back to item 6A, our support group reports. So first, we will hear from our good friends at the Altadena Library Foundation. Their report begins on page 21 of your package, and I'm delighted to welcome Bridget. Hi, Bridget. Oh no, you're muted. Sorry. I know.
I think I've done it all when I turn the camera on. It should come on together, but
I know.
Really, I'm just going to skim through this because you have the written report. Our donor appreciation event was very well attended, and I especially want to thank all of you trustees who came and talked with our donors and spent the afternoon there sipping a glass of wine and having a good time. I also want to report that Catherine Barger's office, our supervisor, has given us a check for $5,000, as did Assemblyman Chris Holden's office. And then he announced that day that he's working on a much larger ask on behalf of the library. So I'm just waiting to see if it comes through, We have posted a new job position that we're hoping to fill by mid-July we've changed the title to Community Engagement Coordinator, who we hope will take on the role of managing our database, but also reaching out into the community, connecting us with people who want to know more about the foundation. And then, of course, just doing routine stuff that we haven't been able to do, or we're doing not as good a job as we'd like to be doing. And then they're scheduling a Zoom meeting for individuals who we think might be interested in serving as a director on our foundation board. We don't have a date for that yet, but when that happens, we'll let you know who our new board members are. We have received already 2 completed applications, so those will be reviewed. There'll be an interview, and then we'll see where that goes. And then I did enjoy attending the, I knew I'd forget the title, that the CLA did.
Serving with a Purpose.
Thank you. I could remember a P word, but anyway.
I get you.
And it was interesting. It was just primarily how other foundations and friends are raising money, some very interesting ways. So that was I found it to be informative. And other than that, I really think that's pretty much it for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget.
I have one thing, Bridget. I would like to, I saw your little report on working with the Boy Scouts on the little free library.
I'm sorry, I forgot that part.
No, I just wanted to volunteer to purchase one of those if it necessary.
Done
helpful.
and done. Thank you.
My wife and I were like, we're gonna figure out some designs, we're gonna build our own, we're gonna put it out there. But if there's pre-built ones and I can support some groups by just buying it already built, hey.
I did mean to acknowledge them publicly. I'm so thrilled that the Boy Scout troop is taking this on as a project. It's really exciting, and they're excited to do it. And they're working, Roman Aranda is kind of the young man who's leading the team, and he's working with Helen and Chloe at the library to figure out how this is going to happen and how they're going to roll them out and install them. But thank you for bringing that up, Jason. It was just an oversight. I was trying to hurry and get through this report.
Bridget, before you go,
Yes.
what's the closing date for the community engagement position? for the
July
foundation?
1st.
Okay, so that's Thursday,
Not
right?
a hard
Not a
date. We
hard
get something
stop.
on the 2nd or 3rd will be good, but we want to interview and be able to recommend somebody by our meeting on the 14th.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Understood.
So,
Thank
thanks.
you so much.
Thanks
All
for
right.
asking.
Okay, next up, it is my very great pleasure to welcome the new incoming president of the Friends of the Altadena Library, Sally Cruz, who was duly elected at their last meeting, and we're delighted to have her here tonight. Hi, Sally.
Hello, thank you very, very much. And as a newbie, I'm not really sure whether I'm supposed to read out. I was going to read out my report, but as Bridget pointed out, you actually have it. So I'm not. I'm not sure.
You can give us a couple highlights, maybe. Yeah, we've got your report in the board package, and thank you so much for that. But if there's anything you want to mention in addition, or any highlights you want to shout out, we'd be delighted to hear them.
Okay. Well, I do want to highlight our annual meeting. It was amazing. Like, if you have the chance to see it on YouTube, it was a most wonderful presentation. It made me think that these are the types of people that you really, really hope were in charge of what they're in charge of. You know, they were really marvelous people and such great hearts and thinking, dare I say, outside the box brains, you know, like, yeah. So if you have a chance, everybody, I think it'd be great to see. During that meeting, we had a lot of fun passing a virtual check to Victor from the Friends to the Library. We our main way of making money, as you probably already know, is the book sales, and membership is because of the book sales a lot. And the book room, the bookstore, I mean. And so both of those things we've not been able to do. But today, for the very first time, Kathy Mahaffey and Nina Rasaby and I and Phyllis, don't know her last name, all went into the bookstore and the book room, I'm sorry, and started work on there again. We were very pleased to see that it wasn't full and that there's room, and we did a lot of work in there, and it was great to be back in, you know. It was very exciting. So we're going to work towards a book sale as soon as we can, and that'll be a pop-up book sale and have a major book sale possibly in September, October. And but because we couldn't raise any money really last year, we just gave half of what we had in our coffers, and that was $15,000. And of course the book sale always generates a whole lot of membership too. So from people who want to come in for the members sale before it's open to the public. So when we have all that coming back together again, we'll be a lot happier. So yeah, thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sally. And it's wonderful to have you here with us, and congratulations on your election.
Thanks very much.
Okay. We move on now to our district director's report. This begins on page 23 of your package. So Nikki, I will hand it to you.
All right, I'm gonna try to have my video on. My signal strength looks good right now, so we'll see how it goes. So good evening, not that you can see exactly, but and greetings from Lake Tahoe. Those are the trees behind me. I'm attending the CSDA, so California Special District Association General Manager Summit for the first time in person. Oh my gosh, so happy to be back in person at a conference, and it's really been great. So wonderful to connect with so many general managers and directors of special districts from around the state. And I've also attended some really informative workshops. I'll be back in the office on Thursday, but we'll see how it goes with my video because I'm pretty much presenting every single thing tonight, so bear with me. To be honest, it has been a very challenging month. As you saw in my director's report, we had 3 significant resignations that are already having an impact on our work and operations. Our Youth and Family Services Assistant, Amanda Toledo, who was our acting manager when we didn't have one last year for like 6 months as an assistant. Her last day was on June the 4th, leaving a huge hole in that department. Thankfully, we worked with Meeling to get that vacancy posted as soon as possible. And I am pleased to announce that we have hired a candidate that will be starting with us on July 7th. Her and her staff, her 2 librarians were the ones that did interviews, and they're really, really excited. I've never debriefed with a group that was more excited than them about that hire. So more information to come next month, but that person will be starting soon, which is really good because, as I'm sure you all know, summer reading program is like the height of children's services each year. So we're happy to fill that vacancy quickly. Nicole Fabry, our administrative services manager, her last day was this past Friday, June the 25th. She thankfully connected us with a temporary worker that assisted us with finance in the past when there was the last finance director left. And she will be doing our accounting and bookkeeping work for us until we can fill that position. Thankfully, because I don't know how to use QuickBooks. I could learn, I'm sure, but I'm just really relieved that Nicole was able to connect us with her. We did post her job on Government Jobs and on Calyx and our website. It's open until July 25th. Again, this position largely, helps me largely with HR and most of our finance work, as you all know. So if you know of anyone that might be interested, please spread the word. Again, it's open for a month. And then our marketing and community engagement manager, Chloe Cavier, also submitted her resignation. And her last day with us will be this coming Friday, July the 2nd. As you are all aware, Chloe agreed to take on community engagement in addition to her marketing responsibilities as part of her job in the summer of 2019. At the time under interim director Cindy Cleary, kind of to fill a gap, to be quite honest, because it really wasn't being owned by other members of the team. And we have seen that this work should probably fall under the purview of the Public Services Department, AKA our assistant director and all of his staff. So later in the agenda, we will be reviewing a job description for a marketing specialist that I worked with Coffin Associates to develop. If approved tonight, we will post that position this week, leave it open for a month as well. I know many of our managers and staff are going to be helping me in filling these gaps until we can get those 2 vacancy filled. So I would like to thank them in advance for all of the work that everybody's going to be helping me do to make sure that everything continues forward. I am so sad to see Amanda, Nicole, and Chloe move on, but wish all 3 of them much success in their future endeavors and thank them profusely for all that they have done for the Altadena Library District for these past few years. I'm still getting over it. So anyway, so as I mentioned last month, we have fully opened both of the library buildings and it has been going great. Patrons are really excited. Everything is run super smoothly, haven't had any issues. We're going to continue to assess expanding hours and days based on the demand by the community and our partners that we're working with So right now I don't have any announcement of expanding, but again, I think like what we're open right now seems to be filling the need. So we'll see how that goes moving forward, and we'll update you as things change. I also wanted to congratulate all of the staff on moving into outdoor in-person programming and all of the amazing feedback that we have received. It has been great to bring our community members together and make these great connections with their new neighbors. A lot of these people haven't even visited the library before, and they attended the Inspire Harmony events, as well as bringing all the donors together too for the donor recognition with the foundation. That was great. The Inspire Harmony events were so fun. Thank you, Rushmore and Camila, for coming to the last one, with music, food, and conversation. Plus, we're getting between 30 to 60 participants at all of the children's in-person programming as well. So what we're seeing is the community is hungry for these shared experiences, and we will continue to expand these efforts to meet that demand. The Curiosity Connection, AKA our mobile library unit, is officially out in the community and being very well received, from stops at our local parks, participating in Juneteenth events, and more. Check out our programs page to see where it will be next. We will be participating in a farewell and thank you ceremony for Michelle and Mario of Grocery Outlet, who I know we're all very sad to see moving on. I believe their last day at Grocery Outlet is July 9th, which is when they're doing a ceremony and thank you, farewell event for them at 5 p.m. So we will have the band there and be participating in that. So as always, there's a lot going on as we're going to cover the 12 action items that we're going to be hitting on with this huge agenda. So I'll stop here. Happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Nikki on any of the many things that we have in front of us? Rushmore, go ahead, please.
Not a question, but a comment, but I just want to commend Nikki on her leadership. Certainly, with 3 major vacant positions, I know that, the library is well positioned to continue to move forward with your hardworking staff. So I know we're in good hands, so I appreciate that. And secondly, another comment is just, it's nice to see the statistics, see the numbers, and, I'm looking at the Bob Lucas stats, just the number of collections checked out. It's nice to see those numbers going way up. So it's nice to be back to normal. So I know everyone's happy about that. But great report as always, Nikki.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, I'd just like to echo your sentiments, Nikki, and extend our very sincere and heartfelt gratitude to Amanda and to Nicole and to Cruz for all of their incredible work over the years that we've been lucky enough to have them at the Austin Library District. And I know that all 3 of them are going to go on to incredible next chapters because they're all absolutely incredible. So thank you to them. We will miss you, and thank you, Nikki, for a terrific report.
Thanks.
All right. Next up, we've got our financial reports, and those begin on page 27 of your board package. Nikki, you want to walk us through those, or
I will do I will do
okay.
I'm going to pretend I'm going to put on my Nicole hat.
Put on your Nicole hat. That's right.
All right. So these are based on the April 2021 financial statements. Currently, we are at 83.33% of our budget year that has supposed to have been spent. As you can see, we're currently at 81% spent as of the end of April, so very much on track. As indicated on the balance sheet, actual year-to-date revenues exceed actual year-to-date expenditures, reflecting a net income of $661,269.79. District cash and cash equivalents are $3,892,797.79. In conclusion, ALD total assets equals $6,106,273.66, and we're well over the $1,977,025 that we need to have as 50% operating expenses. In terms of revenue highlights, the district saw an overall addition of $5,594.37 to our property tax income. In April, the district also received $6,500 from the California State Library for a copycat grant for youth and family services programming, which they produced a bunch of Read With Me kits, which have been extremely popular in being checked out from the mobile library unit. So congrats to Mei-Ling and her staff on that. The district also received $7,085.11 in the grant funding from Foothill Municipal Water District as reimbursement for the work completed on the demonstration garden at Bob Lucas Branch. So not only is it beautiful, but we got it paid for by the water district and its native plants, so yay. A total of $6,090 was received in passports revenue for both checks and deferred credit card payments, so they're definitely in the swing of things again. And excitingly, we received $9,750 in film rental revenue with 2 film production companies just renting the parking lot. So going to continue to explore as many options with that. And those are perfect scenarios because they don't even come into the building or come in contact with staff or patrons. So in terms of expenditure highlights, a final payment of $6,819.19 was made to NIC Partners for grant-funded internet upgrades. That's the firm that did all of the infrastructure work with Christopher on that huge grant that he got from the state library. A total of $6,581.94 was paid to Apple to replace end-of-life staff laptops and equipment needed as a result of expanded telework duties during the pandemic. And a total of $2,659.09 was spent on our summer kit supplies for youth and family services. So there's a highlight for you, Rushmore. Lastly, I did want to point out that we also included after my report, I think it was all of the financial reports, the inclusion of an annotated annual budget that Nicole put together for us to walk the layperson through the budget line by line. I just wanted to check with the Board of Trustees if you found this to be helpful and if you think we should create something similar for our monthly budget updates. And again, a big thanks to Nicole for squeezing that in before she left us last week. So any thoughts or feedback or questions I can answer, I will try.
Yeah, I mean, I love the annotated budget. I think that's awesome. I wonder if I don't know if we need it every month.
Okay.
You know, I feel like it's more of a static resource. Like those line items aren't going to change.
Right.
You know, in a fiscal year, but I don't know. Rush, you're a budget.
No, well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing, maybe quarterly, because you know there's minimal changes from month to month. It doesn't really make much sense.
We could potentially, we could potentially even create like the template and then like have a link on the report every month for those that want a clear explanation or something like that. Okay,
I think that's a great
we'll work on
solution.
that next. Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions on the financial reports? Okay, thank you so much. And we have now Trustee Wilkerson with us. Hi, Camila, good to see you. So now we come into our committee reports. We've, of course, already done our CFD committee report. And I know that, Terry, you'll have to leave us shortly. So
I'm requesting to be excused now, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
All right. Is there a budget committee report this month?
There is not. The budget committee has not met since the last board meeting wherein we discussed the proposed budget at that time. So nothing to report right now.
Okay, perfect. Then we move to, this is now item 6E, your ad hoc committee reports. We're on page 48 of your board package, and we come to our facilities committee report. So Jason, I'll hand it to you.
All right, thank you. So I'm kind of do what I usually do and summarize, especially since some of these issues are going to be revisited later on in the agenda. So first of all, I do want to thank Katie for really stepping in over the last month as my work has ramped up at my other job. I've had to miss a couple of meetings, so thank you, Katie. There's been a lot of work happening behind the scenes, reviewing different documents and making sure we're on track with the calendar in implementing our Measure Z along with the CFD committee. So a couple of things I wanted to just highlight, because we will get to the seismic and the hazmat. We are working on finalizing a description and then the application procedure for what we're calling now the community focus group that we look forward to working with as we go forward here. I do want to just highlight, because this is something that came out of the public meetings and whatnot that we had that kicked all of this off, and was part of the initial ARG report. But one of the issues that some community folks have brought up was looking at putting solar panels on the roof of the main branch, at least as part of the upgrades. And the more we've looked into that, it doesn't seem to make sense to put them in now, just the cost benefit analysis of it. But going forward, especially with a lot up in the air with the infrastructure plan, we do want to make sure that it remains an option in the future, especially if we're able to track down grant money, for instance, to pay for some of that. So that's kind of the direction we're heading in, at least on that specific issue. Some of the other things we're continuing to stay focused on with the committee is just kind of getting ahead of the game and thinking about offsite facilities. If and when we get to the point that we have to have one of the libraries closed for some period of time because of the construction, we want to make sure we have a clear plan and strategy so that so we can continue to provide services during that time. And then lastly, we're moving into, and this is again where the community focus group is going to be very helpful, is starting to kind of look at what we're calling it for now, the discretionary items that could be part of this project. If folks remember, through the ARG report, we kind of identified and put some cost to all of the things that minimally need to be taken care of on this project. Those mostly being accessibility issues and then facilities, stuff like the HVAC systems. But we know that we're going to have room in the budget to look at other things that we have funding for. So we're scheduling a meeting for June 9th just to give ourselves time to really flush that out, and so that we can be prepared when we do have the community focus group together and begin that work with them. And then lastly, we held our first joint meeting with the community facilities district. Very productive meeting. It was great to be able to bring both committees together in a public way and just make sure that we're not duplicating any work, and everybody's really clear on what our jobs are as we move forward with the facilities projects. Any questions? All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right, terrific. Just a reminder that we are looking at scheduling our next joint meeting of those two committees, probably at this point for sometime in the first 2 weeks of October. Diego sent out a survey with some dates. So if you haven't yet replied to that, please do let us know what your availability looks like. It seems to be the case that we will probably have to have the actual trustees in person, but everybody else who's participating, whether they're consultants or vendors or community members or whomever, may have the option to join virtually. We honestly don't know what the Brown Act and virtual versus in-person meeting protocols are going to look like this fall. So nevertheless, do let us know what dates work for you, and we will try to get something on the calendar. Okay, any other liaison reports? I guess that's just you, Rachel. Okay. Oh, sorry, Camilla. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Nope, I blew it. I skipped past the redistricting committee. Camilla, do we have a report on that this month? I didn't think. Okay.
Nope, we do not.
Sorry. Okay. So no redistricting committee report, no additional liaison reports. Any trustee reports from anybody? Okay. All right, then we move into our new business. This is item 8. We have a great deal of new business this evening, so buckle up. First up, we have the review and approval of the responses to the bond underwriting RFP. That staff report and the proposals and the scoring and all of that information begins on page 52 of your board package. Nikki, do you want to talk about this item a little bit before we get into it?
Of course. So as everyone is aware, we are assembling a team of experts to drive the bond issuance process moving forward. We did bring the RFP to the board at their May meeting, posted it the day after that, and closed on June the 8th. I worked with Trustee Andrews, who's also the chair of our CFD committee meeting, our municipal advisor, Doug Anderson, who's on the call. Thank you, Doug, for sitting through the first hour of our meeting. And bond counsel, Nora O'Brien, who is very familiar with bond underwriting work in her capacity as a bond counsel person. I worked with the three of them to do the scoring. We brought the scoring criteria actually to the CFD committee at a special meeting, I believe on May the 25th, where we presented the criteria. Doug and I talked through it. They provided some feedback, and then we used that when the proposals came in on the 8th. We had 5 firms apply. Those were listed in the package that I'm sure you all saw. And really what Doug had advised us going into all of this is what really the most weighted score is price. And we did see more disparity in price than he really thought we would. And so Hilltop Securities, theirs came in at $4.08 per bond issue. And I believe it went up to over $6. And he said that's quite a spread. The second place firm that we scored was D.A. Davidson, who came in at $5 per bond. And that equates to a $22,000 difference in the rates, going from $4.08 to $5. They did, Hilltop also mentioned the green bonds, which is something that Terry brought up. If there are questions the board has about that, I'd probably defer to Doug because he can answer more knowledgeably about that. But overall, we brought to the CFD committee at their special meeting on June 11th, I think it was, a proposal to recommend to the full board hiring Hilltop Securities to serve as our bond underwriter. And that is what they voted unanimously to approve that. And that's what we're bringing to the full board of trustees tonight, with the recommendation that you authorize me to be able to contract with Hilltop Securities to do bond underwriting for us. I'm happy to answer any questions. Like I said, we have Doug on here. If you want, bond underwriting is a whole thing. It was interesting reading those proposals.
So at some point, not tonight because we have a ton of stuff, but at some point offline, I would love to get like a crash course on the whole green bonds, social impact bonds, sustainability bonds, local resident market. Like there's a lot of really interesting stuff that is wrapped into certainly this proposal and some of the ideas that the committee has been discussing. So I'd love to get filled in on that. That doesn't have to happen.
You want Doug to do a cursory discussion about that or no?
You know what? Why don't we schedule a special presentation for one of our upcoming board meetings? Because I think not only would I be interested, but I know like it's a matter of general public interest. So let's put that on the books maybe for our July meeting.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Any questions on this item for Nikki before we get into our motions and our voting? Seems pretty cut and dry.
And I will actually say too, Katie, if people are interested, like if the board or the public or anyone's interested, all of the proposals were in the CFD committee package for their June 11th meeting. So if you're interested in seeing the others, all of them are there, by the way.
Thank you. That's such a good reminder. And you can always find all of those documents by going to our public meetings page on the Hilltop Library website. Everything is posted, everything is available. Okay, then if there's no further discussion on this, then I would ask for a motion to authorize the district director to contract with Hilltop Securities to provide bond underwriting services for the Altadena Library District.
I'll move.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's made and seconded. Any further debate or discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And an I vote for me. Terrific. All right, so we are sorted on bond underwriting. Next up, we have similarly the results of the CFD administration RFP. Nikki, do you want to speak to that one?
Sure. So identical process, basically brought it to you guys on the same night. We had the special meeting of the CFD committee where we also reviewed the scoring criteria for the CFD administration scoring. That I again worked with our municipal advisor, Doug Anderson from Urban Futures to develop. That scoring team was myself, Trustee Andrews again, our municipal advisor, Doug Anderson, and then its administrative services manager, Nicole Fabry, who had the administrative service manager position is who's gonna work most closely with the CFD administration firm. Again, we had 5 proposals that were received by the June 8th deadline. The list of those firms is in the package. This one was a little bit tougher to score, I would say, because like I said, with the bond underwriting, it was like very clear that they were substantially the better choice in terms of cost, as well as all of the other things that we liked about their package. All 5 firms that presented to us had strong proposals, and it was a really competitive process. So based on the scoring, we're recommending NBS. They received the overall highest score, although they were the second lowest in terms of pricing. What really kind of pushed them over the edge for us was the fact that we've done work with them. They are currently our special tax assessment firm that we've been working with since at least 2014 when Measure A passed. And they mentioned some things like including mailers and additional cost or additional work that might need to be done, whereas some of the other firms did not. So overall, like through conversation with the 4 of us, we all came to the conclusion that NBS was who we should offer the contract to, especially, again, like I said, largely based on the fact that they helped us through the CFD formation process. They've been very supportive since we filed the notice of special tax lien and have been getting lots and lots of phone calls. Technically, the CFD administration firm should be the one taking those calls, and they aren't even being paid for that work yet, but have been completely helping us all the way through the process. So overall, that is the recommendation that we're bringing. It's the recommendation we brought to the CFD committee on June 11th. They unanimously agreed that we should bring that to the full board to authorize me to contract with NBS to provide CFD administration services. And that's not only through the bond issuance process, which is where they will provide like special tax tables and other things that we will need to do the bond issuance, but then also continue to do our annual disclosures and all of the things related, by law for us to do for the CFD administration work. So they'll work closely with the CFD committee moving forward as well. Happy to answer any questions. Again, we have Doug here to answer questions as well.
I just have a couple sort of contract questions. So because NBS is currently our service provider for the Measure A parcel tax, would we have 2 separate contracts with them? And then at some point when Measure A expires, would we, like, how does that work basically? Do we parallel track them? Do we kind of wrap everything into one deal? Because obviously we have to track CFD expenses separately.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best option, or is that something we need to figure out?
Well, I know last year when we were doing the CFD formation, it was like an addendum to their contract basically that we signed for that specific extra scope of work. Mm-hmm. Probably what I'm going to suggest is that we go, we talk to BB&K about the best way to move forward in terms of like, is it one contract that encompasses both? Or because of needing to track the spending separately, do we fund it, have 2 separate contracts with them? So I'm not
Because
exactly
it's,
sure,
yeah,
but
okay,
yeah.
we'll figure it
Yeah.
out. I guess my question is because it seems to me that there would be work that would be like, there would be a Venn diagram, right, of crossover stuff that would fall into the Measure A bucket as well as the CFD administration bucket. And, you know, I just want to make sure that we're not getting billed twice for the same work, but we're also
Right.
not counting the wrong thing in the wrong bucket so that we're reimbursing the district directly out of bond sales for the things that should be. So I think that's probably more of a back end administrative question.
Yes. I agree with you, because it's not going to just be through the bond issuance process that we need the CFD administration work, which I think would be built into our general fund.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Long term, when it takes over the service and operational funding. I do know that, like I mentioned, NBS has really gone above and beyond in the work that they've done for us. So I'm sure whatever is financially best for us is what they will support us doing. So again, I don't know yet, but we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Good question, though, Katie. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Discussion on this? Okay, then I will ask for a motion to authorize the district director to contract with NBS to provide CFD administration services for the Altoona Library District.
I'll move.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. Any additional discussion or debate on this item? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And an aye vote for me. Terrific. All right. Thank you, guys. That's great.
Oops.
So we now move into our second set of RFP items, and I am scrolling through my package. Sorry. So this is the Tier 3 Seismic Evaluation Services RFP that begins on page 113 of your board package. Yes, 113. All right. Nikki, do you want to speak to this one?
Sure.
Okay.
I think I've got them all, and
I think you do actually. Yeah. So we'll just we'll assume that's
yeah,
right.
2 down,
Okay.
10 to go. I think I counted. So.
All right.
All right. So as my report spells out, when we worked with ARG last year, Architectural Resources Group, on the architectural and design review, a tier 1 seismic study was done on the main library by Holmes Structures in February of 2020. And when you read the report, they definitely recommended doing a tier 3 study, seismic study of the building. So as you're all aware, we've been working with Racklin Partners, meeting with them once a week. And there was discussion around, getting ahead of this, doing the seismic study, as well as the hazardous materials one, which is our next item, ahead of even like establishing budgets. Because like an example to me is like the Glendale Central Library, they didn't. And then they started doing that project and they figured out that it was going to cost an additional $5 million to do the seismic retrofit. So that's something that the city had to come up with on top of the original budget, right? So we all, as the facilities committee and Racklin Partners, feel very strongly, and especially with Pasadena Central Library getting closed for the same recently, that we do the tier 3 study now, so that we have an idea going into the project what we're looking at in terms of cost. So I worked closely with Jennifer Pearson, who's amazing, by the way. She took our template for the RFP and completely revised it to include everything that we possibly need for the tier 3 study. I reviewed it. I believe we had the facilities committee review and provide feedback as well. So tonight we're presenting the RFP that we'd like to post. The plan will be to post it actually tomorrow on BidNet, with proposals being due on July the 23rd. The weird thing about the way that we're approaching this is that not only are we asking the board to give us approval to post the RFP, but the recommendation is asking that you authorize myself, the facilities committee, and Racklin Partners to review the RFPs that come in, score them, and that offer the contract to a firm not to exceed $40,000 for the seismic study. And in doing so, we can get that work moving forward. what we've learned with the bond issuance process is that we're probably looking at like September, October. And if we don't get this work moving forward, we won't have an idea of what that's going to cost or like the financial impact that it would have prior to the bond issuance actually happening. So again, like it's not typically how we've done this, but in the effort of trying to get the study done, it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. And the way it is, even with the RFP closing July 23rd, I don't think the study would commence till probably like first or second week of August. So tonight we're presenting in that way. They've done several other studies, as you know, so that the $40,000 total is like being very conservative, just in case. They think it's going to probably be closer to like 25,000. So Katie, I don't know if you or Jason want to add anything to that, but tonight we're recommending that the board approve the RFP as it's written, and then authorize me to work with the facilities committee and Racklin Partners to identify a firm and start that study not to exceed 40,000.
Yeah, I think I'll just add procedurally, this is trying it out. We wanted to bring it to you guys and get your feedback. So basically this is one option, right? To allow this work to move on the schedule it needs to keep us on track for bond issuance. There is another option, and the other option is to approve the RFP as we normally would, and then, you know, have the committee score the proposals and call a special meeting of the board at whatever point in time it needs to happen to approve the contract. And that's totally possible as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we went back and forth on this a fair amount, and the feeling that we had was that, you know, it probably would make the most sense to do it this way, but I am perfectly happy to go the special meeting route as well. So there's no, you know, baked in advantage other than that we don't have to call an additional special meeting to approve that RFP. But I did want to present both of those options to you all as potential paths forward.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Katie. Because that is another option we could explore.
Yeah. So basically what we'll look at is either a motion to approve the RFP and further authorize the director in concert with the facilities committee and Racklin Partners to contract with a firm to complete the specified scope of work in an amount not to exceed $40,000, or we'll ask for a motion to approve the RFP, and then we'll call a special meeting when we need to call a special meeting. Probably would be in the next 4.
It'd probably be like in the first week of August would be my guess.
Right. Rushmore, please.
The analysis and cost estimates that are going to be derived from this contract are obviously pivotal to us proceeding. Provided there's this cap as to how much money that can be awarded, I think we're safe. I mean, we understand, certainly it's not like we haven't been doing RFPs. I think that Nikki's up to her eyeballs in RFPs and evaluations. So I think we all trust the processes that have gone into this. We've had our consultants helping with this. So I feel perfectly comfortable with not only this going up, but also the selection thereafter, provided that there's a cap, and we're making it publicly known that it can't exceed that amount. Nikki can report back in a under separate covered and later committee meeting to just disclose who was selected. And I'm comfortable with the proposal as is.
Katie?
Yes.
The one other thing I'll just say too is, I think we have ever increasing confidence in the team from Racklin Partners, and when we were having the discussion, and I know other discussions happened in the meetings I missed, I know like the team from Racklin gave a lot of detail kind of justifying the cost estimates that are included in this RFP, as well as the next one that we're going to talk about, as to, the numbers they came up with, even being conservative. So, I would say like we feel extra confident that those numbers are more than enough to get a good, qualified, adequate firm in place to get this work done too.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Correct. And you'll see in the fiscal impact portion of this report, as well as the hazmat report, we basically have kind of identified $150,000 bucket of reports, studies, investigations that may need to be done. That represents about 0.6% of the total potential budget. But as Rushmore points out, it has a huge outsized impact on how we actually plan and allocate that budget. So, okay, then at this time, I will ask for a motion to approve the RFP for Tier 3 seismic evaluation service and to further authorize the district director in coordination and consultation with the facilities committee and Rackland partners to evaluate those proposals and contract with a qualified firm to complete the specified scope of work, with that contract not to exceed $40,000.
So moved.
Okay. Second. Oh, so fast. That was great. All right. Motion's made and seconded. Any additional discussion or debate? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And an aye vote from me. All right, terrific. Well, very similarly, we have up next our hazardous materials study and RFP that begins on page 142 of your board package. Nikki, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, again, as part of the architectural and design review last year, ARD reviewed the minimal hazardous material studies that were completed in the past and recommended in the report that we properly evaluate existing conditions for hazardous materials and abatement of materials as required. And again, until we dig in, we really have no idea what that's going to look like and what potentially could be the hit to the budget in terms of the building projects. So the hazardous materials could be present in vinyl tile floors, mastic and supplied piping insulation, and other places. So really further studies should be done. So again, I worked very closely with Jennifer Pearson, who provided a very detailed scope of work that you can see in the RFP, depending on what is found and what potentially could be future studies or work that needs to be done related to the hazardous materials abatement process. Again, this draft has been shared with the facilities committee for review and feedback. And if approved by the board, we're actually going to post it a week later than the first one and then have it close a week after that. What a novel idea to not have to do it all at the exact same time like I've been doing with the other ones. Thank you, Jennifer, for that recommendation. So as you can see when reviewing the extensive scope of work that could be part of this, there are various phases to the work that need to be completed throughout the course of this building projects. Initially, though, we are asking not only to approve the RFP, but also to authorize me to again work with the facilities committee and Rackland partners to compile a list of qualified firms to complete the initial studies not to exceed 25,000. Again, that's just for the initial studies to figure out what we're looking at and could potentially, based on that scope of work that you see, work with these firms, this qualified list of firms to complete other work down the road. But again, that would be a different fiscal impact that we'd bring back to the board for review and approval. And again, if Katie or Jason has anything to add.
Yeah, sorry, this is a very picky observation, but this is technically an RFQ. It's listed in the, no, it's listed in the agenda as an RFP. So we'll want to correct that.
Okay, will do.
And yeah, it's not hugely critical, but it is a little bit different. And the reason I noticed it is because we're also, unlike with the seismic evaluation, that's sort of a one and done. Mm-hmm. With the hazmat stuff, it's very likely that we will have different processes and different phases of work that might need to be done. And it's also possible that there will be different firms who are a better or worse fit for those different jobs. So part of this is also to functionally pre-qualify an array of providers who might be able to work with us later in the process. So certainly the goal of this particular item tonight is to approve the RFQ, authorize the director to contract with one firm to perform the initial consulting work. But if, a nice byproduct of that is that we will have that set of qualified firms who have the ability to do other things later in the process.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie. Good catch.
Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve the RFQ for the initial studies within the hazardous materials consulting services and to further authorize the district director in consultation and coordination with the facilities committee and relevant partners to compile a list of qualified firms that will be available to the district as needed and to contract with a qualified firm for an initial study in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
I'll move.
Your second?
Second it.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. Any further debate or discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And an aye vote from me. Okay, terrific. Well, we're set. We're on track. This is exciting. A lot of work coming up for the facilities committee. All right, next is item 8E. That is the review and the approval of the driver's policy for the district. That staff report and the associated policy appear beginning on page 173 of your package. Take it away, Nikki.
Okay. Yeah, it's just cracking me up hearing the page numbers. Like,
I know.
Does it ever end? The poor trees. All right. So as the board knows, it's my goal to bring at least one updated or new policy a month. This one is definitely important in that we now have a district vehicle that people are going to be driving. We worked with SDRMA, which is our insurance company, to insure the vehicle right off the bat. That happened like when we bought it back in February. And then I worked with Nicole and Chloe to research other driver policies in libraries and other places as well to make sure that it was comprehensive. And then, of course, reached out to SDRMA. When I worked in Glendale, there was an EPN, employee pull notification program, so that anyone that's registered to drive the vehicle, if for some reason their driving record is not in good standing, we would be notified and not allow them to drive until their driving record or license is restored, basically. So we put the policy that's in the package together. That includes not only licenses and driving records, but also training, safety, and other inappropriate use information. It was, like I said, compiled by the three of us. Victor reviewed it. We sent it to BB&K for their review and feedback as well. And this is the final driving policy that we're presenting, that we're asking. The staff recommends that the board review and approve it as it is, which again, can always be updated. But, and just an FYI, we have put together all the information needed for the employee pull notification program that will be run through the DMV. So basically, we register them with the DMV, I think there's about 14 drivers in the district that would be registered. And then DMV would notify our insurance company if something were to come up, and then we would be notified of that as well. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have a question. I'm curious about the employee poll. Do they have to like consent for that and sign special forms to be able to access their information? And is that something that's already been done? Or like, do they do that upon hire, just in case they may have to get other information pulled on them?
Yeah, so when we did the classification and compensation study with Coffin Associates last year, we included in all job descriptions that you're required to have a California driver's license. There can be exceptions made, like let's say somebody just doesn't drive. We had an employee, he's no longer with us, but he didn't drive, but he didn't need to drive as part of his essential functions of the job. But we've included it in all job descriptions. And of course, we deal with that on a person-to-person basis, depending on what position we're hiring for. In terms of operating the van, it was up to the employee if they wanted to be part of the EPN. And if not, they just won't be able to drive our van. They can still drive their vehicle as part of their work and be paid mileage if they're doing things like that. But to actually operate our vehicle, they're signing off. And it's a standard form that they have to fill out and give us permission to have access to their driving record and provide like their driver's license number and all of that.
Okay.
So I have that signed and filed with all of the employees that are willing to be part of it.
Okay. And then the other question I had was, I know that there's not a fiscal impact, and I cannot remember back when we decided to purchase the van, we had to add to the insurance costs then, in terms of like, now that we have this extra vehicle that multiple staff might be driving, did we have to modify the insurance back then?
We
when
did.
approved? Okay.
Yeah, we had to take out a vehicle policy with SCRMA. I can't
Okay.
remember off the top of my head. I don't know if Jonathan remembers, but I want to say it was like, it was more than a typical vehicle. For whatever reason, $1,000 is coming to mind to me. I don't know if that's $1,000 every 6 months or not, but I can pull that and let you know. But yeah, it was added just like a typical vehicle to your insurance policy. Mm-hmm. Good questions. Thank you.
Sorry. Any other questions for Nikki on this item? I had a follow-up question in light of what Camila was asking.
Mhm.
If somebody is an authorized driver and then they wish to not be anymore, is like, how quickly does their information stop being accessible by the district? Is that
I believe
right
it's
away, or is it?
Yeah, it's like a 2-week turnaround from the forms that I filled out. So each staff person had to fill out a form, again, authorizing us to do that. And then I had to fill out like a roster basically of everybody with their driver's license numbers. And there's an add and a remove option. So of course, this time around it was add, but if anyone wanted to be removed, I would just have to resubmit. And I believe the paperwork said it's about a 2-week turnaround.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Okay, then I would ask for a motion
Rushmore.
to, oh,
I think
sorry, I'm so sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. This is very random, but because we do have a company vehicle now, is there a way to track where that vehicle is? Do we have something in the vehicle or something like a laptop that's assigned to the vehicle that we actually can know where it is any given time?
That is definitely a Jonathan question who's on the call.
Yeah.
We do have a log. I know that Chloe created. We have a manual, but there's also a log.
Yeah.
Anybody that drives it has to sign in. But in terms of like geolocating, I'm
Yeah,
not
just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jonathan,
not to be big brother, but sometimes it'd be helpful to know where the darn thing is.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Jonathan's not listening. Not that I'm aware of, but knowing Christopher, probably. You
I
know?
would think so with all the IT that's gone into it.
Yeah, it has a 5G hotspot that is really strong. I tested it last week when we showed it to the staff, but I can find out. Not that I'm aware of at this point, but again,
Nothing pressing, but just kind of, it's just idle curiosity, but something if we have the capability, maybe worthwhile having that activated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of find my phone functionality, find my van.
Yeah. Well, this is a whole side note thing, but I had a car stolen once and all of our cars can be found. It's just the police have to activate it. But again, yes, I'm sure there's a way that we could be tracking the van too.
And so are those newer cars, Nikki, or like old school low jack?
I want to say, what did my husband say? Any car that was made 2010 or later,
Yeah.
like, your car can be found.
Okay.
Like really quickly.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too in response to Rushmore's question. I know that when I got my car, it was 2017, and I remember like looking through something in the manual where it said as much, like, you know, turn on these settings and we'll be able to help you find your car. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think the police can just turn it on. They found our car in like 2 hours. It was crazy. I had no idea. So, yay. So that's a public service announcement. Don't steal a car because they will find it.
It's good advice. It's good advice. If you're thinking about it, you know what, shut it down. Or steal an old car, right? Because don't steal a car.
Well, my old 2001 has low jack on it still, so don't steal that one either.
That's right.
Well, I've got the club. How's that?
Yeah.
All right.
How about just don't do it?
Yeah, don't do it. No car theft.
Don't do it. Say no to crime. Don't do it. Don't do crime. All right, I need a motion to approve the new driver policy as it appears in your board package.
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
All right. Take a vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And I vote for me. All right, moving on. Well, quick check-in. How's everybody doing? Doing all right? Yeah, all right. Bravely onward then. So next up is something that we do regularly. This is a resolution to prepare a new tax roll for the library district. And so this is an actual resolution that we'll vote on, but Nikki, would you like to speak to it?
Sure. Again, this is put together for us. This is what we work with NBS on with the special tax assessment. So they presented, and it's based on, Nicole would know better than I, but it's the February 2021 CPI rates, which I think were less than we've seen in the past. So if you look at page 177, the rate for a single family parcel literally only went up like what? I can't do math that fast, 50 some cents for a single family unit. Like, 30 cents for apartments, a little bit, $1 for commercial under 10,000 square feet, and $1.50 for over 10,000 square feet. And again, I think last year was weird with the pandemic. The CPI was very, very low. So we're just presenting this as the resolution that we can present for the new tax roll for fiscal year 21-22. And again, hopefully I could answer any questions you might have, but.
Any questions on this? We approve this every year. This is basically just how the Measure A parcel tax that was originally voted on by voters in the district in 2014 keeps rolling. Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve resolution 2021-02.
Oh.
For your second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. Any further debate? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And I vote for me. Okay. And then we'll presumably need to get Jason, even you will need to swing by the library at some point to sign that. And we'll sort that out with Diego. All right, next up is item 8G, and that is the approval of the district's property and earthquake insurance.
All right. Yeah. So again, putting Nicole's hat on. Again, my understanding from the information we received from IOA was that there's very limited number of firms that will even consider offering earthquake coverage on a building of our size and the amount of money that it would take to replace. So, and a brief explanation is attached in terms of the non-admitted carriers. It's the same Lloyd's. Before Nicole left, she basically told me she doesn't know that we'll ever get quotes from anyone besides Lloyd's. That's who we've had the last few years. And the fiscal impact increase from last year to this year is $3,419. So it just, it went up a bit, but I think that's just inflation, and happy to try to answer any other questions you have. I think Nicole tried to make her report as thorough as possible in an explanation.
So Nikki, in this one, are we approving the quote? Are we authorizing you to contract with them? What is the action here?
Let's see, what did she say? Approve the quote from them. So the board would approve this quote, in which case I will sign off on that amount that we will contract with Lloyd's to pay them for the next fiscal year's earthquake coverage. And it's to take effect, I believe, July 1st, because they emailed me today saying, can you please get us that by Wednesday? Yeah.
Okay.
So this is
just
something we want to explore earlier in the future.
Yeah, I think so. Did we have the quote earlier?
No, we
Okay.
just we just got it in time, I think, for her to put together for this board package.
Okay.
So I'll talk to Iowa about next year potentially doing it earlier. But my understanding, like I said, is that I believe they can only get quotes from Lloyd's at this point. But I'll do some more research on that for you.
Nikki, when you do speak with them, maybe you can ask them also if the California Earthquake Authority provides earthquake insurance for commercial buildings. I know they're residential, but I'm kind of curious if they would also cover commercial buildings.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to look into that.
Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve the quote from Lloyd's for fiscal year 21-22.
I'll move.
So moved, and I will second.
Okay, perfect. So we've got a motion and a second. Any further debate? Let's take a vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And I vote for me. All right, terrific. We are set. No earthquakes. All right, item 8H is another thing that we do every year, which is an approval of the GAN appropriations limit. There is also a whole thing about what the GAN limit is in your board package, and I learned more about the GAN limit than I ever knew I wanted to know, but it was actually really interesting. So thank you so much for providing that. That was pretty cool. So basically, we approve this every year. Nikki, anything you want to add?
No, I mean, Diego and I spent some time trying to completely understand it as well. And my understanding is our absolute top would be that 4.26. We anticipate 3.748 million as being, our limit. But if for some crazy reason we get more than that, that is our ceiling, is that 4.2. But again, we're anticipating that 3.748 million as our limit. So.
Sorry, we're anticipating the 3.7 as
being what we're actually like.
As what we get. Yeah, that's right. That's right. This just says that if a whole bunch of people pay a ton of money in property taxes, under no circumstances can we collect more than 4.2 million.
Yeah.
Just
exactly.
Taxpayer protection kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it never happens, and there's no danger of it happening, but
yeah,
we do it anyway because it's part of the law. All right.
Can I just ask a question though about this?
Yeah.
There was when I was reading through the earlier part of that, like the history of it, there was a piece in there that mentioned that the original law included a provision that the state has to reimburse local agencies for the cost of compliance with the GAN Act. So is that like, I'm just wondering if we've looked into whether or not we can get reimbursed for staff time or anything like that for the work that we do every year to ensure we're complying with this.
That's an interesting question. Because I believe this information is provided to us. So I don't know that we would be reimbursed for staff time, but rather like our consultant fees.
Well, and also like we don't do this, LA County does this and we pay them. So if anybody's gonna get reimbursed, it's probably LA County.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things that they do on our behalf, but it's a really interesting question.
Yeah. Yeah. Way to read thoroughly, Jason.
Yeah, I think that what that means is really if the state comes down with legislation that requires the local jurisdiction to incur costs, and they are required to national phone rings to reimburse the agency for that legislation, not necessarily specific to the GAN, but it's more just any kind of future legislation they're required to reimburse if that's how the legislation is written.
right, so then I will ask for a motion to review and accept the appropriation limit, namely 4.2 million and change as specified on page 182 of the package. Review and accept the appropriation limit for fiscal year 21-22.
So moved.
Second, although I really was hoping that Nikki could go through the 63-page presentation tonight, but I'll just read it myself. But
I
okay,
thought that was the
I'll second.
plan.
Yeah, I really was hoping.
I was prepared for it. I got snacks, water.
Guys,
Nonstop excitement.
be careful what you wish for.
I'm like,
we can do it.
All right.
We can
bring up
talk about Prop 13.
I did learn a lot though. Thank you to Nicole. She was like, in case there's any questions at all.
I also, yeah, I agree. I would love to. All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. We're not going to do PowerPoint presentation. Any further debate on this item? Okay, let's take a vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Hi.
And I vote for me. All right. Moving on to item 8I. That is the review and approval of the salary schedule for fiscal year 21-22. Again, something we do every year. Basically just resetting all of our steps, making sure we're in good shape. That appears on page, excuse me, I'm sorry, 248 of your board package. Nikki, anything you want to add on that item?
No, just as part of the budget process that was approved last month, we approved a 2% COLA. We will be updating it depending on our next item, which is renaming the IT manager position to be IT and technical services manager. And then we'll also be adding the marketing specialist in at the librarian level. I did want to point that out because we will need to update the schedule to reflect those changes, but that's, we maybe should have done that item first actually, but those will be updates to the salary schedule as well. But it's just across the board a 2% increase that we approved, or the board approved last month.
Question, just for the sake of doing things once and doing completely. Is there any reason we couldn't table this item and bring it back next month pending those two changes? Do we need it now?
But I think because it would be effective July 1st, we would need the board tonight.
Okay, so we can do that, and then we can always approve an amendment.
Yeah,
sure.
I'll just plan to bring it back next month with those minor edits.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then let's go ahead as planned. So I would ask for a motion to approve the salary schedule for fiscal year 21-22.
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. I would do it myself, but I'm not allowed. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further debate on this item? All right, let's vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Hi.
And I vote for me. All right. Let's do some job descriptions. We are now at item J, item 8J, and this is an updated job description for both the information technology manager and the marketing specialist position. Those begin on page 249 of your board package.
All right, so as you're aware, as I mentioned earlier, we did a classification and compensation study with Koff and Associates in early 2020, bringing recommendations and implementing those, I believe, at the beginning of last fiscal year, so fiscal year 2020. Since that time, there has been a substantial change in the IT manager's position in that it didn't include specific language around supervision. There was a line that says supervised staff is assigned. Once the assistant director left last July, she oversaw the technical services department. Largely, I think because that was the department she came out of and wanted to continue to oversee that. In many libraries, like pretty much all the libraries I've worked in, IT and technical services are overseen by the same manager typically because they work closely together between the catalog, work things as it relates to information technology. So when the assistant director left, I asked Christopher to supervise the technical services staff, which as a upper level manager, I think makes sense anyway, that you're overseeing staff as well. So he's been doing that since July 2020 of last year. So I asked Koff to come in and assess his work and make sure that he has an updated job description, not because Christopher's not aware of his role in terms of overseeing the technical services work, but because I always want our job descriptions to reflect what we're trying to hire for in the event that we ever have to fill a position. So Mike worked with Christopher, they updated his job description, and that's what's included in the package. It's still at the same salary range. It's just basically a renaming and an updating of the actual scope of work that's being done by the IT manager at this point. Secondly, with Chloe resigning, the marketing and community engagement manager has proven to be a lot of work for one person. I think it would be one thing like a marketing staff or a community engagement staff that worked under that position, but that's not the way things are structured and really not, I think, the sustainable way of doing things moving forward. With us hiring Victor as our assistant director, his passion really falls in community engagement, and I think he does it extremely well. So with Chloe leaving, it opened up an opportunity for us to pass on that community engagement side of work to the public services staff, which is in most places I've worked, who does it? Like it's your librarians and your library assistants and your managers that are out in the community doing the outreach and the partnership building and all of those things. So I had a conversation with Koff and Associates about developing a different job description that really just like focused on the marketing work, which is really like a 40-hour-a-week job for somebody to do for us, as you are all aware. So I worked with Mike from Koff and Associates to put together the updated classification of marketing specialist. This person would not sit on the management team. I don't think they need to. I think they can focus on the marketing side of the work and getting the word out, working with me directly as my direct report on strategies around marketing. But moving forward, it would be at the level of librarian, which if you look at your salary schedule we just looked at, that's what we're talking about in terms of compensation. And Mike felt that that is a competitive range to put a marketing specialist at. So there is not a fiscal impact in terms of the information and technology services manager, but it would take the marketing and community engagement manager, which fell in the range of $75,884 up to $96,849, down to the marketing specialist range, what would be $65,434 up to $83,513. So an approximate decrease of $10,000 in salary, depending on where we hire that person in the range. So we are recommending that the board approve the updated information technology and technical services manager job description, as well as the new marketing specialist job description. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have around that.
All right, these look great, and I think we're going to be in really good shape for these going forward. So I will ask for a motion to approve these two job descriptions as they appear in the package.
So moved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I will second.
Okay, well then I will ask if there's any additional debate. Hearing none, I'll suggest that we vote, which we're going to do right now. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And an aye vote for me. All right. Okay, we now come to item 8K, which is a closure approval, but one that's a little bit different than our normal closure approvals. And this appears on page 261 of your board package. Nikki, do you want to talk about this one?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So yay, we love filming money because man, it's lucrative is what we're finding. We were approached by 20th Century Fox Television to do a 3-day shoot for the American Crime Story series that they're doing. They don't have specific dates yet. Right now they're looking at somewhere between July 14th and August 2nd, and they need 3 full days as we put in the report. So as you're all aware, right now we're open at the main library Tuesday through Saturday. So we're highly recommending to the filming crew that they try to only film on one day that we're open, which would mean they're either filming on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we'd close on a Saturday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and we'd close on Tuesday. And the reason I'm bringing this for, I don't know if all of the trustees are aware, but any building closures have to be approved by the board. So typically we would have some kind of like concrete dates, but at this point we do not. So I'm asking the board to authorize me to work with that 20th Century Fox to close the library with a recommendation or a strong, what's the word I put in there? Preference to only close one day if possible. As you can see, if we only close for one day to the public, we'd be looking at over $31,000 for those 3 days of filming, plus whatever we like the hourly rate for staff would be. If we were to close for 2 days, we add $5,000. It's $5,000 for every day that we have to close the library. We're looking at over $36,000, and for 3 days, it would be over $41,000. So again, right now we're only open 12 to 5 on the days we are open to the public. It would definitely be our goal to have as little cease in operations or impact on the public as possible. But again, that's quite a bit of revenue for us to take in for filming. So typically we would like to come to the board with concrete dates, but at this point we don't have them. At least we have the state range. And again, once I have more information, I will share that, just especially with the public. We're gonna wanna give as much lead time as possible so the public knows that we're gonna be closed at that time. Happy to answer any questions. I know this is a little bit weird of one.
Ella, go ahead.
Hi, so what will the staff do on the one day that they are filming and the library is closed? Do they get paid still, or are they allowed in the building? I'm just curious what happens with the staff.
Being that we've figured out pretty solid teleworking possibilities, more than likely we would have everybody work from home that day and carrying out whatever work that's assigned to them from there for that whatever amount of days. But again, hopefully it would only be for the one day, but we've really put together a good system of keeping busy people at home if we need to send them home. And it would be the goal to have as little people as possible in the building, just because like we're still in the world of COVID, and the less exposure we have with the public in terms of that kind of thing, the better. So that would probably be the way we would handle it.
That makes sense. And there's, another, I guess, added benefit that we receive from COVID is now everybody knows how to telework. And so it would be less impact to your team. Another curious question, I know that we would gain money. There's not a huge amount of, revenue or whatever that would come in due to the fact that the library is closed. Like we wouldn't be losing any money because okay, yeah.
And being that we moved the passport office, it wouldn't even impact them at all. Like
okay,
they could still continue to be open because they're so isolated from the rest of the building.
Okay.
Typically the film crews that come in want to be on the main floor, you know?
Yeah, I was curious about the passport office and appointments and all of that. Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the really smart things we did while we were closed was move them, because they're just like, they have that exterior door, they have people wait outside. And I do think we would explore the possibility of like, who could be in the mobile van that day? Could staff potentially be doing some type of outreach or other ways of connecting with the community to be outside of the library? Maybe some of them are working at Bob Lucas, we'd explore different things. And thankfully the staff are very adaptive at this point, so.
think that would be actually is a really good idea. It would be interesting if it was marketed that way too, like the library is closed, but we're coming to you,
Yeah,
you
that's a
know, in
great idea.
some way to, you know, just to have less impact to the community. Cause I know just in some of the groups that I'm in, everyone's so excited that, you know, they still have access to the library. And I was there one day, you know, a few weeks ago, and someone was like, I'm so glad to be back in the building. So I think that, you know, if there was a way to do that,
Yeah.
the community would appreciate it, but I don't think that they would have any problem with, you know, the library being closed just for a day or two. But I know they would love to still have access.
For sure. Yeah, that's a really good spin. I don't want to use that word, but reframe. There we go.
Rushmore, did you have a question?
Oh, no, Camila asked it for me.
Okay, perfect. I did have a quick question, Nikki, which is that for those rates, is there is baked into those rates any like pre or post cleaning, sanitization, health precaution? Like, is that included in our costs, or is that handled by the film crews? Are they responsible for that?
That's a Diego question.
Okay.
In our services contract, we tell any filming crews that they are responsible for any movement of our furniture and our cleaning. Right now, especially because of COVID, the last crew that we had brought in their own cleaning supplies and did aerosol spraying of the main floor wherever they were at. So that would be included in their part. We just wouldn't charge it because they're doing it, not us.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that was my question. Is that a cost we bear? But it sounds like it's a cost they bear, which is great.
Yes.
Okay.
A follow-up question on that, Diego, is maybe I didn't understand it, but can we mandate that, or did the filming crew say we are going to do this? Or can we say like this is part of the contract that you do like a sanitation because it's accessible to so many people in the community?
It would be it's a part of the contract. And Jonathan just sent me a message saying that even before COVID, they always are the ones to clean. It's part of their agreement to film at our location. They have to not only clean, but also basically return everything to its original place. For example, we did have an advertisement or a commercial get filmed here in our restroom here at the children's restroom, and they took off the paper towel dispenser. So that was a quick, simple, like screw a couple screws and we take it off, but they were also the ones who were responsible to put it back. So anything they touch, it's their responsibility, and we hold them accountable to that.
Great. Any other questions on this item? All right, then I will ask for a motion authorizing the director to close the main library for up to 3 days between the range of July 4th to August 2nd, 2021 for filming, with the strong preference that we minimize any impact to the public and keep that closure to 1 day if possible.
I'll move.
Second it.
Okay, thank you. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any further debate? Okay, let's take a vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And I vote for me. Okay, very cool. If you can believe it, last item in the new business section, I know, is item 8L, and that is the approval of the Board of Trustees meeting calendar for fiscal year 21-22. You guys will recall, again, we do this every year. It just basically allows us to kind of space out what we do and when we do it, and allocate basically some of that activity to specific meetings. Nikki, anything you'd like to add on this item?
No, the most significant changes from last year's, if you were to compare the two, is that we have our operational plan on the calendar year, not the fiscal year. So that's where a lot of the changes were made, because it used to be operational plan on the fiscal year. And that was large because of the way we approved the strategic plan right before the calendar year. But other than that, it's pretty much standard in terms of just reminders of when we need to be bringing everything to the board throughout the year.
I do note that we have our property and earthquake insurance review scheduled for May of next
Yeah,
year, which seems much better. Like, so that's cool. Camila, did you want to speak to, yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I was noticing as I was looking at the calendar that we don't have any redistricting dates and on there, and I was curious if we needed to add those, making reference to like the meetings when, you know, the special board meetings, and the community meetings that will be held specifically for the redistricting purposes. And also if we needed to add, I guess this is more in general, like if we need to add to the overall agenda when we need to do an updated resolution for the redistricting process. So those are my two queries when I looked at this calendar.
My understanding is this is more like the standing things from year to year that we'll see come to the board. So being that that is, you know, the redistricting stuff will just be for this fiscal year, we wouldn't include it unless the board wants us to. I do know that we included that in the redistricting report that I think was in last month's board package. But again, this is more of like the standing things that we should see year over year, you know.
That makes sense. I was just curious if it was something that needed to be slated in there.
It's a really good question. I kind of along the same lines, I wonder if there are, and I guess we probably don't know this yet, but if there are annual things that need to happen related to the CFD that we kind of know are coming because they would happen in that time every year, whatever the amount is that we bond and how we handle it. Just something that kind of
it may be that we need a CFD committee calendar that's included
very
as part of their
probably,
process, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which we could then present to the full board to see, but that's next on the list of things for the CFD committee to work on is the bylaws and guiding documents and potentially what calendar would look like. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good point too.
All right, then I think we can ask for a motion to approve the calendar in its current form, but obviously we can always add stuff to it as we learn more in the future. So I will ask for a motion to approve the Board of Trustees meeting calendar for fiscal year 21-22.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further debate? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Trustee Capel.
Aye.
Trustee Cervantes.
Aye.
Trustee Wilkerson.
Aye.
And I vote for me. All right, we did it. We made it through. We come now almost to the end of our agenda. We've got a quick item under governance, and that is something that arose out of the discussions we had, as you guys will recall, at our June 10th special meeting, which was the idea to sort of standardize the way in which we do board reports. So what you see in your board package on page 263 and following is basically a sample report template. So these are all the different categories and, you know, descriptions and things that we would want to include. And the idea is that if this basically works for everybody, we can start reporting out from our committees in a sort of standardized format. Diego, Nikki, anything you guys want to add to this?
No, I think thank you to Diego for compiling. He was the one that put this together for us. We just were looking for any like feedback or thoughts that the board had of, you know, things that you think are missing, need more clarification, etc. You know, it's just basically we want to make it easier for not only the trustees, but also like our consultants and other people we're working with to create these reports without as much editing, I guess you would say, because you know what you're supposed to be including in them. Did you have thoughts on it, Katie?
I mean, this is not really an action. I don't want to vote on it, but I appreciate the standardization because it also is a transparency measure. Because if you're an interested citizen and you want to know how something is impacting the district's bottom line, you know where to look for that information. So my only thought would be, in the same way that we have sort of an annotated budget, it might be nice to have like an annotated report on the website, sort of a citizen facing thing where it's like, this is basically what exactly this template does, right? But this is what this information is. This is where you expect to find this kind of information. This is where you expect to find this kind of information. I think it's pretty helpful.
I just wanted to say thanks because I personally love templates and I think they're helpful in even speeding up the process of writing reports and being knowing what to put in them and and have the ability to be specific. So I just appreciate the template and just want to say whoop whoop, thank you.
And I want to call out the barriers and solutions piece, Camila, because that's in direct response to your observation at our last meeting that, like, hey, if there are problems or obstacles we're encountering, I think that's such an important piece of it. So I'm really excited to see that in here as well.
If I may, I just want to add one thank you. I'm glad that you all like the template, but something that I want to add, and I think is always helpful. I know that for our staff reports, we ask for that. I'll put somewhere in notes saying any kind of visual is helpful. Like, this is definitely something that for the writing purposes is going to be helpful for you all or for our consultants, but I feel like as humans, we are visual beings. So any pictures or graphs or anything, like, it is welcome for formatting change. I think this is, like you mentioned, Katie, an annotated version of what the content should be. So thank you all, and I'm glad you all liked it.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you so much. And maybe Diego, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just BCC the full board with like a Word document version of this, so we've all got it on hand as we're starting to prepare reports for next month.
Of course.
Thank you so much. All right. Anything else on report templates? Anything anybody want to add? Okay. We have no correspondence that I'm aware of this month. This is the point in the meeting where if there is an agenda item that you would like to see added to a future agenda, whether in July at our regular July meeting or some other point in the future, you can propose that. So are there any proposals for future agenda items? All right, then if there are, oh, sorry, go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, Katie, I just wanted to mention real quickly, I sent an email. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if everybody got it, about the Chamber's Awards Dinner on July 16th. If any of the trustees are interested in attending, please let me know because we're gonna get a table. Our very own Mark Mariscal, who serves on both the Friends and the Foundation boards, is being recognized as 2020 Citizen of the Year. So if you're interested in going, please let me know. I think the deadline to register is the 9th of July, but the sooner we can do that, the better. So just shoot me a text or email or whatever if you want to go.
And it's always a really fun event.
Yeah. And it's in person.
Yeah, it's in person. That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, then if there are no other items and no other business, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, do I hear a second?
I will second.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any opposition? Oh, hearing none, we are adjourned at 7:18 p.m. Thank you so much, guys. That was a big one today.
Fun.
Thank you, Nikki.
Got a lot done.
Yeah,
that's great.
Good job, guys.
Nice work, Nikki.
I thought we were going to be in here a lot longer.
I did too.
I have to go to a dinner now. So.
Oh.
Oh.
Don't worry. I'll
Everybody text
represent us
Nikki your
well.
address and she'll have it DoorDash.
No, I'm
Bye,
gonna go
everyone.
mingle with other directors. It'll be good.
Yeah,
Have fun.
All
Thank
right.
Very
you
cool.
for
Thanks,
all the
guys.
work.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Night.
See you next time.